So this one basically, remember initially we had v1, so I'll just do a sample of this in a second. So let's first here create some APIs, these CRUD APIs that we wanted to create, leaving the version like this, how we were doing it in the older Spring, and then we test it out, and then we can now do the versioning so that you see the impact of this. So first we can say, maybe let's first create a get mapping to just get the students first. So I can just say get mapping in here, and then I'll just say public list. Maybe this one will get all the students, and then that's what I want it to return, all students. And then so later on we'll version this, and then this one should return a student repository, but now we need to first initialize this, or rather inject this student repository. So we'll just say private final student repo, that student repo, you can just call it like that. You can call it in the same, and then let's add a constructor for this injection, and then we'll just say student repo dot get all students. So that one should be able to give us so we can customize these queries further in terms of we go to our students and then do some number of items, or rather some number of functions to just give us. Also this one should be find all. Usually we use find all, yeah, so that's the default that you can use, find all, but you might want also to say maybe get form ones and stuff like that. So you'll have to create this function in the repo. But for this one, these are the defaults that I told you within the repo. It has some defaults for strictly tied to the student model, so that we don't receive any other item, and then you can call that data, or you can call this now student, whichever the name of the variable that you want to give it. Then in here you just come and say the model student, which is this saved student, or maybe new student. New student is equals to student repo dot save, and then you save this particular student that you imported from your request, or maybe you can say even this is the student request, and then to just make it different, then that's what you're saving in here. So this one should return for you a student. Is we can now use these to do some items, like let's say we wanna return this, so we just say return response entity, and then you can say, maybe you can create, or you can either say okay, and then you put some of the body here. You say the body should be student, the new student who was just created, and then you can add other items that you want to add on to this. But with this one, for me, I think I'm okay. You can just say give me a 200, and then give me this student that I've created. So let's run and test out these functions, these two CRUD functions, and then we create the rest. Yeah, so I'll run my app here, and then you need to have a client. If you're having the ultimate version, you can use the HTTP client within IDE. But for me, I have this the student version, so I'll just use one of the. Let me see if I have one of the clients here. So I can use one of the client that you're using. Let's say I can use Insomnia, for example, to just do this. So I'll basically open up my Insomnia, and then in here I'll just come here and say I wanna do in my sandbox, I wanna do the students. I'll just create a new folder and call it the student, or the school APIs, and then inside the school APIs I want to create some requests in here. So I'll just say HTTP request, and then we have localhost. This one will go to port 8080, the port that we had our server running on, and then API version 1/students. So if I send a get into this, I'm supposed to get localhost, so the host name was wrong. So if I do this, I'm supposed to, let me put some headers here and say maybe content type in application.json, application/json for that. And then let me see, could not connect to the server. So let me see if my app is running. So my app isn't running, so you just check API version.use MVC failed to bind property, API version.use MVC. So there's a problem here, API version. So let's fix it. So I think it's affected by this comma that we erroneously had here. So let's see if this one now will be up. Then we say this is enabled, and then the other one is use query. I think it's okay. And so 2 items after that. So these use need to be, this query parameter is an object within the use dictionary. So you need to say like use parameter API version, and I think right now this one should be able to run. So you can either use parameter or use header or query parameter and stuff like that. So let's see if this one now will work. And so in here we have these, right? So it's running on port 8080. So let's try out our endpoint and see if we can now access it. So bad request. So request is expecting API v1 students. Let me see. But then it requires the MVC versioning. So let's do this because I want to first we create without the versioning. We appreciate the fact of the default one that we had, and then we add the versions to at least appreciate now the new goodies that comes with Spring Boot. I think that will be the easiest way to do it. Yeah, so in here you'll see I have a list of empty students in here. So I'll want also to say, let's say this is get student. So I'll want also to say, let me rename this and call it get students. Maybe just say students. Now this is a get request. And then after now you get student, you can say, you can duplicate these and say, now you want to post for students or add student. So you just say this is a post into the same API, but then on the body we'll need to give it some JSON. Which should be set according to what we had on our students repo or our students model, sorry. So in this entity of student, we'll need the full name, email, and stuff like that. So let's just add them here. Just come here and say, so the ID will be auto generated. So you just say the full name. Let's say this full name. So you'll have to keep it JSON. So you'll just say full name is let's say full name is John Kelly. Then we go to the next one. So you can grab this, just paste it and say email it's to be johnkelly@gmail. And then lastly, this customer is active, we can say true. You can just pass in here a boolean, and then we can now submit these to our endpoint. So internal server error, API student is a post. Let's see if the application type, content type JSON, that's okay. So let's see where the problem is. So in here, one issue that we are having is so we can't really, because our model has this item. Let me see. So our model has this item here as full name. So we need to first set a JSON property and tell it full name will have an underscore when we are going to save it in the DB. And then number two, now we come here and say this should be full name with that. Then we try, yeah, so this one is rightly saved. So the user is saved and we have received a return in here. So this one will create a user. And now if we say list of students, so if we go back to our first API and then say a list of students, we are able to get this particular student from our database. So let us see why it's not giving us these other items. Let's say these are to be email. I just usually love to do these on all my classes to just ensure that I'm having the best experience. Let's see. Then let's pull it again. John Kelly. So I need to check this. So one dependency that we left out, which is important, is the lombok, so that we can have the getters here, because now our model is not saving, is only saving the full name without the email and active, because probably this is just an entity, but we needed to like have something like we can specify these are data, or also we can just have some getters here. So instead of just creating some getters in here and setters, so what we can just do is we can come here and install we can just come here and install the lombok, the project lombok, to at least give us some, so you can say project lombok, that will work for us. Just a second, but then if you say lombok here, able to give us the exact here. So project lombok. So we'll update and then we try again. So after that we should be able to call lombok within our app. So let's go to our model. Then inside our model now we can say lombok, or maybe say just data here from lombok, and this one should have the getters and setters, and also all arguments and no arguments code automatically generated. So let's do this. Let's run this again and try. Yeah, so with those couple of changes, now we can create this afresh. So I'll just clear my table and then we create this afresh with a couple of these are table. Let me see, student table. Or we can just come here onto public and then do a query and then just say, all right, sorry for that. You can just need a new editor. Just say select all from student then you'll see we should be having a number of students here generated. So I'll just delete all of them first, and then after that I'll try to now create a fresh. So I'll call first my student save. So I'll say maybe I first put some students. This is the first one, some ITIL, maybe the second one, some ITIL, the second one, and then the third one I say Jane Fian, to just say, and then you can say her email is J. Alright, this thing is misbehaving. Say J Fian Gmail and stuff like that, and then we save. So if we pull all of them right now, we are supposed to get a refreshed list of all the different students that we just created. So that's the query for create and list. So we can finish up with the rest, and then we'll do the versioning on the next tutorial. So you can just say the second one, maybe say I want to delete. So I'll just come and do a delete mapping here, a delete mapping, and then I'll just say under this delete mapping of mine, I'll just say go here and probably just have so in terms of versioning, that's when we'll have the correct some other items. So I'll just return also some response entity which I'll call as, should I return the student or I'll just return a void, because the student will have been deleted now. So I'll just call it delete student, and then in here I'll just say I need a path variable which is a long, and it should be an ID. And once I receive this one on the path variable, then I'll want to first check and delete. But now if I specify this path variable here, so also here I'd like to say I'm expecting something like an ID here. So I'll just say I'm expecting a value of slash. So that is specifying that we need a version in here, like rather an ID of the item that we want to delete. And then out of that we'll say if is student, so we just say student repo dot first check if this student exists. So we'll just check if they exist by ID, and then if they don't exist, we'll just build return, maybe say we want to return a response entity, and maybe say it's a not found a for response entity, and then you can just build this and return. Otherwise we want to delete, so we just say student repo dot delete or destroy by ID. So you just say delete by ID, then you put the ID here, and once we delete, then we can now return a response entity of maybe say dot no content, something like this, and then dot build. Then this one should be able to give us that. But now because of this is not usable, we can still do it like this. You can just remove that and say if this one, it will return at this, and then we just continue to make it as simple as possible. So this is our delete. So let's try to delete one of these items. So I'll rerun my program, and then I'll pick one of these IDs. So first I'll create a delete endpoint here. So I'll just duplicate this and say this one should be a delete student. So just come here and say this one should be a delete, and then it will have a parameter. Let's say from the list of students, let me delete this, the first one who is ID number 5. So I'll just come here and say delete ID number 5, and then with that I should be able to delete this particular student for me. Let's try. So after that, no content 2 or 4, that's okay, it's a success with no content. So let's list them back and see if that will disappear. Good, so that disappeared, and there we are done with the delete. So you might also want to find one particular item on this. So you just come here and say I want to find one particular item. So I can say this is a get mapping, and then in this get mapping I just want to get one particular student from this list. So I'll just say get mapping, and then